Hello and welcome to Crime Time with Dr. Debbie. I'm your host, Dr. Debbie Goodman, and we were at the beautiful St. Thomas University here in Miami Gardens, where we are delighted to welcome our guest for today, Special Agent from Department of Homeland Security, Katina Hernandez. Agent Katina, hello, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, well, we're delighted, and we know there's going to be a lot to talk about and interest from our students in all that you've done and continue to do. So we always like to start, please, with having our special guest tell us and our viewers about yourself, please.
Well, I am actually a retired special agent from Homeland Security Investigations. I just retired in March.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Of last year. I worked for Homeland Security Investigations for 15 years as a special agent working human trafficking investigations. And I ran the South Florida Human Trafficking Task Force for about the 5 of those years. And prior to that, I was in the private sector. I also have my undergrad in criminal justice and my master's in forensic psychology, and I'm still pursuing my PhD.
Wonderful. Well, we're also delighted to have you on board our teaching staff, and we know you're joining us this semester as an adjunct professor.
Yes.
So our students are very lucky to have you.
Very happy to be here. This is a dream come true.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned something that I want to ensure certainly that our students understand. Could you just give them a rundown in your professional estimation? What is trafficking? Because there's so many different categories, right? There's human trafficking, sex trafficking, firearms trafficking, drug trafficking. But just to ensure that our students have a full understanding.
Yes, thank you for that question, because there is a lot of misconceptions. So human trafficking is the exploitation of a person through commercial sex acts, labor, and organ trafficking. There's also domestic servitude, debt bondage, but that actually all falls under human trafficking. And the difference between a human trafficking and drug trafficking and even human smuggling is that human trafficking is the crime against a person and the exploitation of a person.
Right, and it's just a sickening crime, so thankfully we have the Department of Homeland Security and you and the colleagues who are really doing great work day in, day out to ensure the safety and security and even the survival and prevention of victimization.
Yes.
Agent Katina, with such a lucrative career in law enforcement, can you also take our viewers through your journey? How did it all start for you? 15 years of dedicated service, but at what point did you decide this is what you want to do? And maybe tell us a little bit about the journey.
Well, actually, I decided that I wanted to work in law enforcement or do something in the military when I was younger, around 18-ish. And I went on a different journey. I ended up having children, and I had to work. And then I decided as they got older to go back to school. And prior to, like I said, I was in the public sector, so I worked for a real estate developer as an investigative accountant. And when the market flopped in 2008, I figured, oh my goodness, this is the chance to go after my real dream. So I applied for Homeland Security Investigations. And a few months later, I received a phone call with a job offer for an entry position called an investigative assistant.
Wow.
It was basically just no interview. Would you like to work with us? So I took the job because I figured, let me get in. Because to be a federal law enforcement officer, you do have to join before the age of 37. So I was 34. So
Perfect.
I had 3 years left.
Yeah.
And there is a process. So I am very aware of that. So I got in, and I was very, very lucky, first of all, to get in and to be able to join as law enforcement right on time, in my 37th year. And it's amazing. It was a miracle, and I'm so blessed. After that, it was the academy, and then from there, it's been a journey. It's been such a long, beautiful journey, but I'm so, so grateful to have been able to at least fulfill my dream, and on top of that, work such amazing investigations and help people. It's been very rewarding and educational, and has opened so many doors for me, to include where I am today, an adjunct professor at St. Thomas University.
That's incredible. You mentioned something very important too, because I'm always mindful of our viewers, our listeners, who may want to follow in your footsteps, of course, and join the agency. But can you give us an indication of the training? What did that look like, sound like, feel like for you? Where did you go? How long is it?
Okay, so the training for it's a criminal investigator is actually the official job title in Homeland Security investigations, and it's a grade series of 1811. So the training consists of a 6-month training at the Florida Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia, and you do 3 months of criminal investigator school, and then your last 3 months are agency-specific training. It is very intense. There's a lot of law classes, a lot of physical training, firearms training, tactical training. The days go by very quickly, and they're long days, and it definitely is a dedication, and it can be challenging, but there's also a camaraderie, because you're in a group, you're in a class with a group of people who are basically like-minded, and are it becomes like a brotherhood and a sisterhood, because those people you spend day in and day out with for 6 months. I don't live in Georgia, so obviously I had to travel and live there in the facility for 6 months. They provide housing, food, which is great because we're getting paid for all of that as well. It was a challenging experience, but it was such a memorable experience. And again, like, there were I have some amazing memories, and I have friends forever, lasting friends from that experience.
Agent Katina, with all that you've done in this 15-year span, might there have been a case or cases that just really, did something, triggered something, whether it was good or bad, that you were directly involved in?
Yeah, so it was one of my very first cases right out of the academy. So in the academy, I did not know what I would be investigating. You come right out and you are assigned to a group, and there's all different areas of investigations that our office does. So I didn't really know when I started what I was doing. I was just happy to get in there. But I knew ultimately I wanted to work human trafficking investigations. So when I got out, or about a month before I was done, I received an email saying, you'll be assigned to this group, this office, and I was working for a Lauderdale office. And it happened to be that group was an immigration like catch-all group, but one of the areas that they investigated was human trafficking. So I was like, wow, this is such a blessing, a gift that I received, that I wanted, a dream come true. And it was all aligning greatly. So as soon as I got to the office, I told my supervisor, because there was different areas of investigations that we did. Like I said, there was human smuggling, there was document fraud, benefit fraud, and immigration related. It was called public safety. So I asked my supervisor, I want to focus simply just on human trafficking, because I know there is so much here, and there's not too many people in our group, and I would love to focus and specialize in human trafficking. And he was like, great, here you go. Handed me like 50 cases and leads.
Wow.
So I went to my desk and I sat there and I made all these phone calls, and whatever questions I had, I asked my field training officer, who she was also a tremendous, amazing agent. She's now working for headquarters and has had a phenomenal career. And I just absorbed everything and learned everything. So that led me to one of the leads that I had. I also did a lot of networking to our prosecutors and let them know, hey, I'm the newbie in Fort Lauderdale. I'm working human trafficking, whatever you need from me. So I got a phone call one day, a Saturday. A prosecutor called me and says, hey, we have a victim that I need you to interview. Went to interview her, and she was part of a huge case that actually ended up being a joint case with with BSO and other local law enforcement officers, and it was very challenging because this victim, was addicted to drugs. She was in a life where she could have not, she was on her own, and then a pimp found her and, basically romanced her as a boyfriend and got her into working for him, which that meant that she was handing all her money over to whoever he, exploited her. He exploited her on a website and would call, Johns would call. Wow. And, she was prostituted, and he started beating her and, abusing her and taking her money. And so that, which looks like to the public, like she's a prostitute, he's a pimp, but no, that's human trafficking, because she wanted to leave and she was held against her will, and he took all her money.
Wow.
So that she ended up running away from him, and he found her and abused her more. And so when she was finally away from her, I was able to get a really good interview from her. She stayed with us, meaning the task force, for the investigation for 4 months. That's another challenge. It's very challenging for a person to want to cooperate with us. They want to get away from their pimp. They don't want anything to do with it, with the case.
Yes.
They're afraid of, retaliation.
Sure.
So that was very hard because of the fact that she was addicted to drugs. She would go kind of off, and myself and another detective from Hollywood PD actually had to go and just make sure that we were, that she was okay. We had to provide her services from nonprofits. It was a lot. It was basically, we had other officers and agents working on different types of investigations to collect evidence to prepare for the case.
Wow.
And then myself and another detective were taking care of the victim, who she actually had to go to a rehab, and we sat there with her. So that was really challenging.
Yes.
And it was long hours, but it was so rewarding. I just was thriving off of the fact that we were helping this person, and we were, fighting against this, because this pimp was also victimizing other women.
Yes.
So at the end of that, it did go to trial. The pimp pled not guilty, so it went to trial. The trial was actually a 4-day trial. It took about 4 to 6 months to gather the evidence and then set the trial. The trial was 4 days.
Wow.
And it was a long, well, not long, it was a long 4 days. But it was, the victim was very, very brave. She testified. The trafficker also testified. And it was huge in my office, because this was in 2014, 15, and a lot of people were still did not understand what human trafficking was, to include my coworkers. So this was it was covered by the press. It was pretty big, and we were able to actually prove our case. We won the case.
Great.
He was found guilty.
Good.
The jury actually before that deliberated for 4 hours and found him guilty.
That's usually an indication, right, that it goes against the defendant.
Exactly.
When
it was
it's a quick outcome.
It was quick.
Good.
We were like, we were in belief, but it was also like, wow, surprised.
Yes.
So we, meaning the team, it was a prosecutor and other, the task force that worked with that. So it takes a team. There's a team that we had. But I was the lead case agent.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So again, right out of the academy, there's a lot of things that I didn't really understand. So
You learned quickly.
I learned quickly from the prosecutor. I mean, so much. I got probably my whole, a lot of experience for the rest of my career from that. But anyway, that case ended up, the trafficker was sentenced to life.
Wow.
And that was the first case
Wow.
in our office in HSI in Miami to receive a life sentence.
That's amazing.
Especially for human trafficking and for mainly anything.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a huge victory.
It was amazing. And my supervisor actually came up to me. He's like, what are you going to do for the rest of your career? There's agents that work their whole career and never have a case like this.
Wow.
I said, well, I'm going to keep doing it.
Good.
I'm just going to keep working.
That is a great story. Thank you.
It was amazing. I received an award, an officer.
That's beautiful.
It was the Law Enforcement of the Year It was
Your
very,
first year?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And
Thank you.
thank you for just doing what you do. And that's an incredible story. And I'm sure there are many more like that.
Yeah.
But we appreciate knowing that. Let's pivot a little bit now to your new role, and you're wearing a new hat as an adjunct professor. So maybe share with us your philosophy about teaching and what you hope to accomplish with the students.
Well, so during my career, I was a young mother, so I always had kind of like second jobs or because I also was a realtor during before, and I kept that license. And while I was in school, when I went back to school for my undergrad and I continued for my master's, I met a professor who was an adjunct professor, and she gave me this idea of, whether in retirement or even while I was still working, to continue on with my education so that I can one day teach at a university, because that was another dream of mine. So I did pursue and I persevered through my master's degree. I was in the academy while I was obtaining my master's degree, and on the job obtaining my master's degree. And I was able to finish it, obviously. And it was really hard, though, while I was on the job, to pursue actually adjunct teaching or night teaching. However, when I retired, I was mentoring a class here from one of my colleagues that works here, and I met one of the directors who actually said, "Hey, do you want to work here?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" It just fell into my lap. I was going to apply anyway, but this happened for me. So now I get to share my knowledge, my experience, my passion, and pour into students here at St. Thomas University who are the future, our future law enforcement officers, politicians, professors, psychologists, whatever they want to be. I get to actually bring experience to the table and pour into them. So I'm so honored, and again, a dream come true. I can't say it enough.
Wonderful. Thank you. Agent Katina, how do you best communicate your goals, your philosophies? What's your approach to good communication skills? Because we know that that's critical for our students, for our viewers who are listening, who want to enter our field. So what's your overall take about communication skills, both in writing and verbal, oral?
Yes, so communication is huge for me. As in law enforcement, everything is important when it comes to what's in writing. That is huge for me, but I also encourage verbal communication, especially here with the students. In now this is the age of technology. Our students are here. They're the masters of technology, and they love to go quick to the phone or in writing. But what I do encourage them individually to just share with me what their best form of communication is, because I think that could cause, that could prevent a lot of misunderstandings, and it would encourage so much more pleasant and peaceful situations if we are able to understand. And I let them know, hey, I'm very understanding, just communicate with me. And I had that on the force as well. When I was in law enforcement, I communicated everything to my supervisors, to management, and I bring that with me. I call myself kind of an aggressive communicator, because if I need to either bring my point across respectfully, or if I'm concerned about somebody, I haven't seen you, or or I need an answer for something, if it's urgent, I find ways, whether it's through writing, texting, email, phone calls. If you have two phones, I'll find another phone. I'll find another phone number.
Yeah.
But
persistent.
Yes,
You're a persistent
huge.
communicator.
It's my number one practice in life. Communication is key.
Excellent. And what perhaps were some of the overall challenges, just so our viewers know? Obviously, you've had this amazing career, but along the way, there must have been some challenges. What might have been, 3 challenges, let's say, that you faced?
Okay, so during my career, first and foremost, my size, the fact that I'm a female, I'm 4'11" and 3/4, And in the academy, everything was built basically not for a female who's 4'11 3/4. I had to climb over 6 feet walls and shoot a gun that was too big for my hands. So that was challenging. From what I understand, the academy has definitely geared a lot towards catering to females in law enforcement. It was just something that wasn't addressed until they started seeing that females are having problems. So now there's smaller guns. They have definitely created different techniques. So that was a challenge. And then coming out into the office on the force, working in a male-dominant profession, it was hard. You had to have thick skin. You had to have tough skin, because especially when we're in situations where they're life-threatening, entering homes and search warrants. We have vests, we have weapons, we're all trained. However, we know males are stronger, they're bigger, they have different. They have more advantages to us physically. So that was challenging to basically prove myself. I didn't feel like I had to, but I knew that no matter what I did, I had to put my heart and passion and really uphold the oath that I took to protect and serve, and however that looked like for me as a female in my size. So I made it a point to constantly be, obey that for my, respect myself and respect the public. And my coworkers actually saw that and they respected that about me. And we realized there's a place for both of us. There's a place for women, there's a place for men, and there's a need for all of us. So that was another challenge. And then also being a mother and a grandmother. I have a granddaughter. So
wow, congratulations.
Thank you. So the life-work balance was very challenging. There were some birthdays that I had to miss. There was some vacations. There was a lot of rest that I missed. But again, this profession is just so unique and such a beautiful opportunity. So I'm glad I did have that, but it also has a benefit of early retirement. We have a great pension, and we don't have to wait till we're 62 to retire. So that also gives us the benefits to spend more time with family once we do retire. So those I would say are the most challenging.
Awesome. But you took the challenges and you made them into positive, right?
Exactly.
Take the lemon and make the lemonade.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. So we also know there's a need for more criminal justice professionals, whether that's at the local, state, federal level. But clearly in all that you've done and all that you continue to do, you would have insight for us and the viewers as to what skill sets do you feel are most needed today, 2025 moving forward? You spoke to us about communications, and we certainly value and appreciate that, but what else do you think it will take for an individual who wants to enter our noble profession 2025 moving forward?
In criminal justice?
Yes.
In criminal justice?
Yeah, overall, local, state, federal, whatever aspect.
So definitely a passion to protect and serve, definitely a passion for public safety. I would specifically encourage, because wherever the person, wherever you are hired, you get specific training. So knowing then what I know now, I had my undergrad in criminal justice, however, and I loved it, and it helped in the academy. But maybe going into looking further into other languages, getting certificates in special languages, or victimology, because there is so much more, and we learn on the job, but to have the training before the job, I think it would have been a lot easier for me, because I basically had to investigate how to investigate. A lot of the stuff no one else, a lot of the investigations that I worked, no one else really knew. So I had to go and look for that. So I do think that there should definitely be a passion for criminal justice, and just be open to look into more certificates and training, and don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable knowing, okay, I have my degree, I have this training, I have that training, but there's always something new when it comes to technology, AI. There's so many things that are going on. So always be open-minded and be ready to, have mind expansion. Always keep looking and keep learning, and be compassionate and, just aware and vigilant.
Excellent. Thank you. And especially to our students who are listening, and I think we would both agree that an internship would be a valuable opportunity for them to participate in. Do you know if there are any internship opportunities with Homeland Security or other organizations that you think the students may want to explore?
There absolutely are internships, and that is, I highly recommend, because they do cater to, especially undergrad and grad students. You can work alongside with special agents. There's paid and unpaid internships. internships, you go to the website, to Homeland Security Investigations website, and look for the internships and contact the local offices. And it does get you in the door with, putting a face on a piece of paper when you go to apply. And you also get to see, is this the right agency for me? And you get to see, so much. Again, there's so much to learn, and it's so valuable to be able to work before you actually have a job, to work with other professionals, to where you're thinking that this is where you want to be. I also am a consultant for a nonprofit, specifically Quest to Freedom, and that's an anti-trafficking organization that we also have internships. So that's the nonprofit side. So in the field, in the investigation of human trafficking, we could not work investigations without nonprofits to provide services. So now that I'm retired, I'm on that side as a consultant. So there's so many different ways, and there's all types of nonprofits that also have internships. So I highly, highly recommend internships for networking. Also, to explore where exactly you want to be in criminal justice, in the field of criminal justice. And yeah, there's so many opportunities. Highly recommend it.
Terrific. Thank you. Well, believe it or not, the time is flying, and we're almost at the conclusion of our show. So, Agent Katina, anything else maybe either that we didn't cover, or just some, wrap-ups or final talking points for our viewers that you would like them to know?
Honestly, what I tell the students, and before I started working here, I was also out teaching human trafficking, and I was going to different schools and churches and different organizations. Follow your dreams. Follow your heart. You can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. Don't let a situation, an age, or a disability, or something stop you. There's always an area and a field to do whatever you want to do. Never, don't take no for an answer. Just persevere, and keep faith, stay strong, and just keep going.
I love it. Persistence and perseverance.
Yes.
Well, Agent Katina Hernandez, you have been a wonderful guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our show for today on Crime Time with Dr. Debbie. I'm your host, Dr. Debbie Goodman, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for joining us.